pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker for today, Mr. Eugene Lee. He is Senior Technical Sales Manager, Rohde and Schwarz, and he takes care of the mobile network test APAC market segment for Rohde and Schwarz, Singapore. He has more than 10 years experience in the test and measurement industry and collaborates with customers from R&D, production, planning, engineering, and field operations. He's here today to present to us about IoT Network and Ecosystems. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome on stage Mr. Eugene Lee.
Hey, hi, good afternoon everybody. I'm Eugene, I'm from Rohde and Schwarz, and today I'm very happy to be here and honored. So I'd like to thank Mobitel for giving me the chance to be able to do the information sharing session on testing of IoT Network and Ecosystems. Okay? So, I will be, having a very short presentation. It's probably around 10 to 15 minutes. So please, lend me your ears. And I hope you guys don't go into the power saving mode, right? You can remain the EDRX or idle mode, but not power saving mode. Okay. So basically, what you see over here is the whole IoT ecosystem. Basically, NB-IoT is also part of IoT. So these are the things which, you can actually, have a quick summarized view. So basically, on the IoT, chipset manufacturers are always there, like Qualcomm, Sequence, HiSilicon, okay? And we have the module makers as well, like Quectel, Telit, Simcom. And of course, what you see over here, we have the IoT device and applications as well. So this is a new emerging set of customers, So basically, as you are aware that Rohde and Schwarz, we are a test and measurement company. So basically, the beauty of being a test and measurement company is, I would say, 80% of the companies are listed here in the ecosystem are our existing customers, okay? Those highlighted in blue. And the red colored coded customers are emerging customers, okay? So with the trend and the evolution of narrowband IoT, we can see, more research institute trying to develop IoT applications, build new products, build new devices, okay? And actually, and also, we have the network operators as well. So, in what we see in our region or globally, there are a few key operators that is pushing very hard, like China Mobile Communications in China. And we have operators in Vodafone in Europe, as well as in Australia. They are pushing NB-IoT. So, with the push from the operators and as well as, like in China, the government is actually pushing for NB-IoT. It will be a great success, okay? So, also, on the other side, we have the design test labs. So, right now what we see in the market is actually, like Foxconn, they are actually the manufacturer, a contract manufacturer for like, the Huawei devices. But at the same time, right now, the contract manufacturers are actually shifting, to add value to the whole IoT ecosystem by being a design labs. So basically, you can outsource that to that contract manufacturer to build new products, for you guys, okay? And last but not least, we have these test houses as well and certifications labs. So these are actually the third-party certification labs. So most of the people in the ecosystem, like the chipset makers, the module makers, and the device makers, okay, they will actually need to send the device to this test house, to do the certification test, to make sure it is compliant to the 3GPP standards, okay? So I'll go on to the next slide. So basically, for Rohde and Schwarz, what we have over here is our CMW 500. So basically, this is a flagship industry-known product that is actually, globally certified by GCF and PCTRB. So for you guys who is not aware, what is GCF and PCTRB is, they are actually, these are the two key major certification forums, global certification forums that actually lay the framework for the conformance testing of devices based on the 3GPP standards, okay? So, with the CMW solution, we actually emulate, has the base station to do a device certification test, okay, based on the GCF and the PCTRB. And right now, up to date, versus other competitors, we are actually right now have the most number of validated test cases, okay. And what it means is we have the greatest number of coverage in terms of testing, and also it's a single board solution that helps the customers, like the chipset makers, the equipment manufacturers, and even operators to a certain extent, right? Operators who have test labs, like NTT Docomo, or like Optus, whereby they have their own test labs to do a certification of the products itself. Okay. So I'll move on to the next slide. So these are actually some of the test cases that is actually laid out in the working instructions or the request for test items inside the GCF as well as the PCTRB standards, okay? So in simple terms, on the left, what you see over there is actually the transmitter test. So basically, this is the standard RF parametric test, which covers, the standard tests like error vector magnitude, the EVM test, the SEM, okay, as well as the ACLR, okay. So these are very much a transmitter test, which is applicable for testing on the single device, as well as testing on the base station itself, okay. And of course, we have the receiver sensitivity test, okay. So what is quite important is actually this thing known as the adjacent channel sensitivity. Basically, when you actually have the NB-IoT device or module, you want to really make sure that while transmitting at the assigned frequency, it is also where it's for the receiver, while it's actually receiving at an assigned frequency, it's also be able to receive the proper information, right, in the presence of strong signals from the adjacent channels, okay? Because of the way NB-IoT is implemented, it can be a standalone, in the GSM frequency, or it can be an in-band within the LTE band, or on the guard band itself, okay? So the next thing is we have the performance test as well. So these are actually, the performance test is actually looking more into the demodulation on the physical downlink shared channel as well as on the control channel itself, okay? So you guys must be wondering, right, why do we need to do so much testing, right? The NB-IoT module and device is meant to be very cheap. And why do we still have to spend so much time doing the testing, right? So everyone must be wondering, okay? But there is really a reason. And because, and the reason is also because the NB-IoT module and device is meant to be very cheap. And that is the reason why most modem or the module makers itself actually use a low-cost this crystal oscillator. And when you use a low-cost crystal oscillator, what it means that you have a very big frequency offset. And when you have a very big frequency offset, you will actually affects the demodulation signal quality. And that's why it's very important to actually conduct a very thorough test. And that's why you have the 3GPP standards to adhere to. And that's why, we are there, right, as a test and measurement company, okay? And another thing about the NB-IoT is, we know that, when you have an NB-IoT, it means that you're not just talking about, 100 or 200 of connected devices, right? You're talking about, probably up to 10,000 devices, supported on a single cell. So, when you have so many devices transmitting at the same frequency, and, sometimes it coincides with other technology, there is really a likelihood for co-channel and adjacent channel interference, okay? And what is most important is, sometimes because of the deployment for agriculture sensors, like the temperature sensors or the water sensors, you probably have like 1,000 sensors in a very highly density area. Also all these sensors are very close to each other. So what might happen is actually you have to consider the electromagnetic interference, right? So the EMI side. So all this adds up, and that's why you have to do a very thorough testing on the device, such that it will not impact the quality of the existing network as well, right? Especially if you were to implement, the NB-IoT technology on the in-band or on the guard band itself, okay? So basically, right now, what you see here is, for us, So just now I mentioned it's more onto the device certification test. So right now moving here is more into the network side. So after the device is qualified based on the 3GPP standards, the next thing to look out is actually more onto the network coverage, right? So as an operator, if you work into the early stage of NB-IoT deployment, you will definitely need to do a CW measurement. That is where you look into the propagation, tuning, and modeling of the network. And also you talk about the coverage as well, right? And coverage is not just, for NB-IoT, coverage is not just a measure of power strength or, the bits, the error bits, or bits per second, right? You have to really look into the service coverage. Or what we mean by that is actually you have to look into the quality of service, right? Because NB-IoT, we know that there's going to be an enhanced coverage. But this enhanced coverage is at the expense of latency, okay? And also bandwidth and spectral density. Especially, if you will have a very bad, poor coverage, you can actually experience a delay or latency of up to 10 seconds, okay? And your throughput might even goes down to 100 bits per second. And that's why it is very important, for a network operator to actually check for the coverage and also, measure the service quality. And how do we do that? It can be as simple as plugging the device into a test tool like this one, or plug into a PC, you run some software, do some testing on the IP layer. It can be a ping test, it can be a FTP or the HTTP-based, HTTPS-based kind of testing, right? Because naturally, you want to have the best coverage, but you have to suffer based on the latency. And one of the techniques that is used by NB-IoT is actually repetition. What do you mean by repetition? Because the device will be set to keep on, transmitting, the same message over and over again, so that it makes sure that the message is actually reached out to the base station, right? So because of this transmission or this repetition, if you have only one device, there's no issue, right? But let's say you have 1,000 devices or 10,000 devices doing the retransmission and repetition of messages. Will there be an overloading on the base station? So these are some things that the operator should actually consider, to test out before they actually roll out, to a large-scale kind of NB-IoT service. Okay. Then, of course, we have the automatic channel detection, which we assist the operators, to observe, what are the actually frequency bands that is actually occupied, by the other operators as well, right? Because we know that a lot of people are going to roll out the NB-IoT. So basically, with the scanner itself, we allow the operator to do troubleshooting, coverage, and monitoring analysis, okay? We even have the RF power, so you can have a spectrum scan to check for interference, right? Like co-channel interference or adjacent channels. Basically, for the operator, they would like to know, what is the impact of an NB-IoT signal on the existing LTE signal or on the existing 2G signal. And alternatively, they would also like to know, right, whether the existing LTE signal is going to impact the NB-IoT signal or not. So basically, with our solution, we are here to help the operators and our customers to build a more robust NB-IoT network. Okay? We have other features like cell loading. Basically, we can see, how much resources are being utilized by the device. What is the cell loading, the throughput, okay? And also, last but not least, we have this feature known as the base station position estimation. So basically, let's say for NB-IoT, right, you want to know, where your competitors, have, in the network, where are the cell sites for NB-IoT for the competitor network. So basically, you can use this solution, to know where your competitors actually place the base station, for the NB-IoT service. Okay. So there's also another application highlight. So these days, right, everybody talk about security. Security is one of the main concern for this cellular IoT. But also, IoT, what it means is does not just mean for the Internet of Things, right? It also meant for the Internet of Threats. As long as you are connected to the Internet, there is bound to be vulnerabilities and threats. We cannot run away. So one of the things is, we have a showcase in the MWC 2018 demonstration. So basically, our equipment emulating as a base station is used to actually ensure that the device, for the NB-IoT device, is securely connected to the Internet. Okay? And actually, we have these IP analysis and IP security function built into our core box. Basically, we are be able to analyze the SSL handshaking, as well as the security certificates issued by the server. So on the application layer, in this very example, this is a part of the parking lot management application. So basically, right, we have, what you see, these are toy cars, okay? But when the car arrives, the sensor will actually send an update, right, back to the cloud or to the IP, to the network. But when the car leaves the space, the automatic payments will be deducted, right, either through the cash card, or some forms, of transaction, right? So every time, when this thing happens, the IP event is triggered, our box will be able to analyze. Basically, our solution here is to help the manufacturers or the devices or even the operators to detect the vulnerabilities, in the IP connection, the security of the devices, okay, when it's connected to the internet. We just want to make sure, you are able to detect such vulnerabilities, right? Whether, is the connection secure. Whenever you have a payment, kind of a transaction, is always talking about security. And this is the thing that, with our core box, we not only can help you to do the RF, and the protocol layer signaling test, we are also here to do on the security analysis, okay? So the next thing is also a very interesting topic, and everybody is talking about the power consumption, battery life, you need to have a very long power consumptions and things like that. So basically with our core box, we will be able to help you guys, test in a controlled environment, okay? We do have the solution, to actually display the average current, voltage, power consumption over time, and we are be able to correlate that to the different IP events, right? So, let's say, the module itself is actually doing a tracking area update request to the base station, okay? Or, even in the EDRX or either or power savings mode, we'll be able to monitor that, what is the change in the power consumption, okay? To see whether, your device can really actually, goes up to 10 years of, product life cycle, right? It can last for 10 years. So these are the things, that, with a test solution, we can help you in that, okay? So last but not least, this is the, one thing I want to show is in the last, this MWC 2018, we have done the world's first verification for this Cat MB2. So this is actually based on the 3GPP release 14. So basically right now, NB-IoT will support the location services, okay? So this is something that is very new, right? So basically, with the NB-IoT device right now, who is actually supporting location service, the operators, or even the logistics company will be able to track, okay, all these location of the cargo shipment or important shipment without the use of power-hungry, GPS or AGNSS technology, okay? So what it does is, our core box, the CMW, will actually simulate a 4-cell NB-IoT network, okay, with the this position reference symbols, okay, so we simulate 4 cells, and the device under test right here is ComSolid. They are chipset manufacturer as well, ComSolid. They have their own chipset, they have their own module, and the device as well, and application. So basically, in this technology itself, the device will be able to monitor the, and observe the time difference of arrival of the information coming from the 4 simulated cells, and then, they will feed back to the serving cell, okay, to where it's latched onto. So once, the serving cell, we've integrated this LBS server, a location-based server, we'll be able to calculate the measured location, okay, and compare, okay, the reference location to actually, with the actual location that is programmed, right, in the LBS to see, whether is that accurate or not. So we already support this Cat MB2 already, our solution, okay. So, I just want to give you a brief overview. So basically, for Rohde and Schwarz, we have a complete product life cycle. Even for the operator, right, you have the engineering team, you have the optimization team, you have the field installation teams. And basically, right now, our solutions for NB-IoT is built into every product. And basically, and I would say that most of our products are even 5G ready. So once, you invest in the tools itself, moving forward, everything will be, most of the things will be software upgradable, okay? And last but not least, I'd like to thank you for your time. And hopefully, we can be your test partner of choice. Yeah, thank you for your time.